Okay, let's unpack this. Today we're taking a deep dive into Bumrungrad Hospital, BH, a really significant player in the global healthcare landscape, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. A major name.
And you've likely seen headlines about their ambitious year of transformation for 2024, but, well, also growing concerns around its recent stock performance.
Yeah, it's a fascinating mix, isn't it? Strategic vision meets market skepticism.
So, for this deep dive, what sources are we working with?
Right, so we've compiled quite a stack, financial reports directly from the Stock Exchange of Thailand, SET, alongside, a range of news articles and analyst insights.
Ah, so different perspectives then.
Exactly. Often conflicting, but they all offer, well, vital viewpoints on the hospital's current situation.
Our mission today is really to cut through that noise. We want to understand the core of BH's strategic direction, explore the genuine factors influencing its market perception,
hmm
and try to separate the facts from, let's say, assumptions.
Yeah, give the listener a clear picture.
Exactly. Our goal is to give you, our listener, a truly comprehensive and nuanced view of what's happening behind those headlines. So let's set the stage. Declaring a year of transformation, I mean, a bold statement for a hospital like BH. What's the real impetus behind an overhaul like that?
Well, what's fascinating here is that the driving forces seem to be multifaceted. You've got rapid advancements in medical tech, evolving global healthcare models,
Right?
and the growing influence of digital health, telemedicine, AI, all that stuff.
So they're not just reacting.
No, it seems they're aiming to proactively leverage these shifts. The goal isn't just maintaining leadership, but using these changes to benefit both their patients and, importantly, their extensive workforce.
That sounds like a really fundamental rethink. And they've outlined 5 key pillars for this transformation: clinical, safety and quality, operation process, service excellence, and people transformation. Clinical transformation feels like the bedrock, doesn't it?
It really does.
What's the absolute game changer they're aiming for there?
Okay, so when it comes to clinical transformation, the real insight seems to be their focus on ultra-specialized multidisciplinary care. They've got these 8 centers of excellence.
Like the Heart Institute, Spine Institute?
Exactly. Horizon Cancer Center, neuroscience. The list goes on. They're designed to bring together, modern innovation, advanced tech, and top-tier physicians.
So tackling the really complex cases.
Precisely. Where a general approach just won't cut it. And they've also implemented this thing called medical governance.
Okay, what's that about?
It's all about ensuring high-quality, safe patient care grounded in modern knowledge and ethics, the aim, to be the most trusted medical organization for both Thai and international patients.
Trust is huge in healthcare.
Yeah.
Okay, so beyond the tech and the centers, a hospital's biggest asset is its people, right?
Absolutely. Over 4,000 employees, more than 1,300 doctors. That's a huge team.
So how do you actually transform that workforce through this people transformation pillar?
Well, it seems to start with their core values, which they've summed up as IAI.
IAIC.
Yeah, inclusion, agility, innovation, and caring. They say these aren't just buzzwords, but the actual DNA shaping how BH's staff collaborates and adapts.
Agility seems key if you're talking transformation.
Totally. Cultivating an agile mindset is fundamental, they say, to embracing change. Plus, they've got structured succession planning, clear career paths, leadership programs, the works. Nurturing future leaders, keeping that institutional knowledge.
And they're also an academic hospital.
Right, a full-fledged academic private hospital. So they're
Sure.
actively supporting research, publications, collaborating with medical schools. It's all about continuously enhancing capabilities.
That's a comprehensive internal focus. Now let's switch to safety and quality transformation. What are they doing there that's maybe unique, especially given the high stakes?
They've got the expected stuff: continuous improvement processes, systematic lesson learning, knowledge management, proactive risk management.
Standard practice?
Well, yes, but what seems really innovative is their no-blame policy.
No blame. In a hospital. That sounds interesting.
It does, doesn't it? But the idea is to encourage open discussion of problems without fear of repercussion. So issues can be collectively resolved and hopefully future incidents prevented.
A culture of learning, then.
Exactly. Plus, they use a hospital information management system, HIMSS, for quality control. And external validation is key here.
Like the JCI accreditations.
Yes, their 7th reaccreditation by Joint Commission International late last year. and Global Healthcare Accreditation, GHA, specifically for handling international medical travelers.
And that Vitalize Center.
Ah, yes, the VitaLife Scientific Wellness Center. A pioneer in preventive medicine in Asia, they say. It adds to their long-term health approach, using longevity medicine research and even AI to analyze biological age.
Makes
It's
sense.
pretty cutting-edge stuff.
Okay, no blame policy plus AI for longevity. Quite a mix. Now let's connect operation process transformation with digital healthcare. How does this tangibly improve things for the patient, like from booking to follow-up?
Right, so they're heavily adopting digital healthcare systems. The aim is efficiency, better treatment outcomes, safe, accurate, rapid care. The whole patient journey should feel seamless.
Seamless out.
Well, think about it. From before you even arrive through your hospital stay and even after discharge, they give examples like their electronic medical record, the EMR.
Quick data access.
Right, quick and precise access to patient health data. And the Bumrungrad application for direct patient communication.
And they have principles for this.
Yeah, they call them the FAST principles for operational efficiency. Friendly use, accuracy, safety, specifically patient safety, and timeliness.
Yes.
And they're layering AI onto this too to further elevate care and enhance patient satisfaction, which ideally leads to positive word of mouth.
Okay. Here's where it gets really interesting, though. We've just unpacked all these forward-looking strategies, this ambitious vision, but the headlines have been all about a significant drop in BH's stock price this year. So let's dig into what the financial data and the market analyses are actually saying.
Yeah, this definitely raises an important question. If you look at the stock, BH's shares were trading around, 132 Thai baht as of late June 2025.
But that's way down, right?
Oh, yeah. Since the start of 2025, the stock has seen this continuous decline. It dropped over 20% from early January down to a multi-year low in May. That's a big move for a hospital this established.
Wow, over 20%. What were the initial flags, the concerns that popped up with these numbers?
Well, the Q1 2025 net profit came in at 1,733.73 million baht. Now, that was actually a 13% decrease from Q1 the year before.
Okay, a drop. Did they explain that?
DH attributed that Q1 slowdown, at least partly, to a longer Ramadan period this year impacting patient flow, particularly international patients.
And it seems analysts have been a bit divided on the stock. That tells its own story.
It does. You've got conflicting views. Some, like Globlex, are still recommending a buy. They see upside potential, targeting 226 baht.
Right, optimistic.
But then others, like InnovestX, are holding a neutral stance. Their target is 214 baht, and they're anticipating, quote, choppy earnings going forward, partly due to costs from new hospital projects.
Choppy earnings.
Yeah.
Now, a really critical piece for BH, revenue-wise and reputation-wise, is its international patient base, especially from the Middle East.
Absolutely critical.
Let's focus there because this seems to be where some of the most dramatic claims have surfaced.
Yeah, and just to give you some context, back in 2023, BH treated over 1 million patients total. A huge chunk, 351,000, were international patients from over 190 countries.
Wow, 190 countries.
And they also reported a really high 97% return rate across all patients. So you can see just how vital that international segment is.
Definitely. And this is where those controversial claims started popping up, right? About Middle Eastern patients disappearing. What's the real story?
Exactly. And this is where you really have to evaluate the conflicting info carefully. One article specifically claimed a significant loss of Middle Eastern patients. It suggested something like a 1.3 billion baht revenue decline just in the first 9 months of 2024 from that segment.
1.3 billion. That's huge.
Huge. However, BH's CEO explicitly refuted this. They stated that net revenue from the Middle East in 2024 actually increased by 45% compared to 2019, pre-COVID level.
So increased by 45%.
Yeah, indicating sustained trust, they argued. And specifically, revenue from Qatar apparently saw a remarkable 558% increase over that same period.
Whoa, 558% from Qatar. So the overall picture isn't quite the collapse that one report suggested. What was the actual revenue impact BH acknowledged?
Okay, so BH clarified that the actual revenue reduction from Middle Eastern patients, specifically including Kuwait, was 551 million baht during that period.
Still significant, but much less than 1.3 billion.
Right, and they attributed this primarily to internal policy reforms within Kuwait, affecting patient travel and reimbursement, not issues with BH's quality or care.
An external factor then.
And importantly, they said this impact was reportedly offset by growth from other Middle Eastern markets like Qatar and UAE and other international segments too. This helped them maintain year-over-year earnings per share growth.
Okay, that paints a different picture. What about the claim that, No Kuwait patients were coming.
BH stated that wasn't true either. They said approximately 30% of Kuwait patients returned in 2024, generating about 416 million baht. And patients from Qatar and the UAE continue to seek specialized, complex care there.
So when you look at these differing reports, this fractured narrative, what really stands out to you?
I think it's essential to grasp the broader context. BH have an incredibly diverse patient base, over 190 nationalities.
Right, not just one region.
Exactly. And in 2024, revenue from Thai patients grew 46% compared to 2019. Revenue from foreign expats living in Thailand grew 56%, particularly in high specialty fields, preventative care, rehabilitation.
Just strengthening the domestic base, too.
Yeah. So while specific segments might fluctuate, maybe due to external policy changes like in Kuwait or other factors, the overall trend of patient growth seems, well, more robust than some of those isolated negative reports might suggest at first glance.
Okay, so if the patient numbers aren't perhaps as dire as some headlines painted them, what other factors could be contributing to the stock's downturn and this market skepticism?
Well, if we try to connect this to the bigger picture, one analysis we looked at points to what it considers two potentially structural reasons for concern, basically arguing BH might be losing market share.
Okay, structural reasons, what are they?
Reason number one, a decline in global oil prices. The argument is that countries in the Middle East, being heavily reliant on oil and gas revenues, are reportedly tightening their healthcare budgets.
Makes sense. So they look for cheaper options.
That's the suggestion, seeking out more cost-effective hospital options.
Okay, and the second structural reason, is it about BH itself?
That's the argument. BH's own rising treatment costs. Over the past 3 years, 2022 to 2024, their treatment costs have gone up by about 15% total.
15%. How do they explain that?
BH explains these increases by citing inflation, which is fair, but also ongoing upgrades to their treatment protocols and service quality. Better tech, better service costs more.
But the flip side is?
The flip side is it makes their services more expensive overall. And this could potentially be driving some patients towards competitors like BDMS or PR9, who reportedly saw pretty significant increases in Qatar patients during that same period.
Ah, so BDMS up 56% year on year, PR9 up 100%. That's quite a jump for them.
It is.
So this raises a really important question. It's not just about the total volume of patients BH has, but potentially a shift in market share specifically because of pricing differences.
That's the core of the argument from some of those analysts, yes.
And how does that connect back to the stock's valuation, the PE ratio and stuff?
Yeah. Right. They point to BH's current price-to-earnings ratio, the PE, which is around 16x. That's basically how much investors are willing to pay for each dollar of earnings.
And 16x is low for them.
It's a 3-year low, apparently. And at the same time, its dividend yield is 3.15%, which is a 3-year high, meaning shareholders are getting more back relative to the lower stock price.
So normally, low PE, high yield might signal undervalued.
Typically, yes. But the argument here is that the overall downturn in the Thai stock market, plus these perceived structural issues around cost and competition, could mean investors just aren't willing to grant BH the same premium valuation it commanded previously.
Okay, but, and this is crucial, BH directly pushed back on some of those price comparisons, didn't they?
They did, very directly. They stated, for instance, that their basic health checkup package starts at 7,000 baht, not the 16,100 baht figure reported in one article.
Big difference.
Huge difference. And they also stressed that comparing packages directly is misleading anyway.
Why misleading?
Because of vast differences in what's included, the scope, the technology involved, they mention their advanced photon-counting CT scanner with AI as an example, and, of course, the expertise of the medical staff involved. You're not always comparing apples to apples.
Right. So BH's counter-argument is value, not just price.
Exactly. BH emphasizes that many of their patients, especially the international ones from the Middle East, choose them for reasons far beyond just the basic price tag. They're prioritizing quality, overall value, the global reputation.
The specialized expertise we talked about earlier.
Right. The highly specialized medical expertise, their proven ability to handle really complex conditions, and that personalized service aspect. They also claim their clinical outcomes often surpass international benchmarks.
So for those patients, it's a more complex calculation.
Absolutely. They argued the decision involves things like cultural understanding, individual preferences, trust in the brand, and outcomes. It's not just a simple cost comparison.
Okay, so a much more complex picture emerges there on pricing and market share. It's definitely not as simple as Price too high, patients leave.
Mm.
So putting this all together, what does this mean for the future? How is Bumrungrad planning to navigate these choppy waters, these challenges, and keep pursuing that long-term growth?
Well, BH seems to be demonstrating active adaptation. They acknowledge the environment is dynamic, sure, but they really underscore their resilience. They cite their 4 decades of navigating global and domestic challenges successfully.
So experience counts.
Experience counts. And they say they're continuously monitoring geopolitical shifts, medical tech advancements, including AI, staying alert.
Are they actively looking at new patient markets to broaden that base beyond the traditional strongholds?
Yes, it seems so. While they noted revenue from Myanmar has shown some inconsistency, BH is actively targeting emerging markets, places like Bangladesh, Iraq, and significantly Saudi Arabia.
Saudi Arabia. How so?
Well, a concrete example is their strong involvement in this Thai-Saudi Cooperation in Health Initiative, the CCHI framework. They were actually invited to present in Riyadh,
Okay.
and they're apparently in advanced negotiations now to provide services to Saudi patients who are covered by health insurance there.
So tapping into the insured market. That sounds strategic.
Very strategic, aimed at long-term growth and definitely diversifying their revenue streams away from potential single-country policy risks like the Kuwait situation.
Makes sense. What about physical expansion then? Increasing capacity. Are we going to see, like, BH branches popping up everywhere like some competitors?
Their strategy seems a bit different there. They're not going for widespread new branches like some others. Instead, they're focusing on strategic bed capacity expansion primarily at their current locations, their main campus.
Okay, expanding the core.
Right. They currently operate 538 beds. The plan is to add 59 beds at their Soi 1 project nearby, expected completion in 2026.
And the Phuket Hospital.
Yes, that's the big one. A new greenfield hospital in Phuket anticipated to open in Q1 2027, adding another 212 beds.
So 59 plus 212. That's a fair number of new beds.
It is. This combined effort is projected to increase their total bed capacity by about 50% by the end of 2027. That's significant growth.
50% increase. Wow.
And alongside that, they continue to focus on partnerships within the tourism industry, trying to enhance their leadership in medical and wellness tourism, leveraging their existing medical expertise without necessarily needing huge investments in brand new hospital construction everywhere.
Okay, so it really is a multi-pronged approach. Digital transformation, strategic capacity expansion, but focused expansion, and market diversification. We've really covered a lot of ground today, taken a true deep dive into Bumrungrad Hospital, explored everything from that ambitious transformation strategy and the strong patient return rates to the complexities of its recent stock performance and these, well, differing narratives around its international patient base.
Yeah, we've seen how the hospital is leveraging cutting-edge technology, how they're trying to nurture their workforce, upholding those stringent safety and quality standards like the JCI accreditation, and how, despite those market concerns and the conflicting reports about patient segments and pricing, BH seems to maintain a pretty confident stance on its long-term strategy, its diverse patient base, and its commitment to patient care.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? I think it's a powerful reminder, really, that even for well-established, fundamentally strong companies like BH, market perception can be influenced by so many factors, sometimes contradictory ones.
Absolutely. It shows you really need to look beyond just the headlines.
Exactly. Delve into the underlying strategies, look at the detailed data if you can find it, and consider the company's own responses to truly try and grasp the full story. It's rarely black and white.
And maybe a final thought to leave you with. Consider how critical thinking and deliberately looking at multiple perspectives allows us to better understand the true value and maybe the resilience of organizations operating in these really dynamic global markets.
That's a great point. What other trusted institutions, maybe outside of healthcare even, might be facing similar kinds of challenges beneath a simple surface narrative, something you could explore further yourself? Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.